housing project is part of a program that was approved by Council in 2019. Council approved what we refer to as an affordable housing program, and in specifically there are 4 initiatives under the affordable housing program. One of them being the informal settlement upgrading program. Secondly, the council housing program. Thirdly, the employee housing program. And then fourthly, the rent to own and rent housing program. So the current project that we are focusing on today, that we are referring to, is what was initiated in 2020 through the Office of the Honorable Minister Theunis Heunis, Ministry of Urban and Rural Development, our line minister, who brought together the Khomas Regional Council, City of Windhoek and National Housing Enterprise to initiate a program for the construction of affordable houses in the informal settlement. So this initiative was effectively launched on July of 2020, with the construction process starting in August of 2020. The aim being was to construct houses for less than 200,000 within the informal settlements, consisting of 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom houses. And it was to ensure that people, even if they are not credit worthy and not able to physically have a full-time income from a payslip, that they should be able to occupy a house. So whether it was your kapana vendor, salon owner, person that is working and selling sweets on the streets, so long as they could prove that they have a level of income, they must be afforded the opportunity to obtain tenure. The aim of the program was to ensure that we make land and housing combined, a program to ensure that people pay a reduced price for the land, and also to ensure that they pay a price that they can afford for the house in the income bracket of people earning less than $5,000 a month. So this is where this program started, and it was to the extent of where we have to, as partners, NHE and City of Windhoek, as implementing agencies, were mandated to construct 1,200 houses within different areas that are fully serviced within the informal settlement areas. And coupled to that, the ministry as the main funder of the program basically then indicated that they will subsidize the land cost of this project, so that we could sell the land at a reduced price, and also make sure that we get the extent of people that cannot literally afford to pay a big price for land, that they are able to come into the category of affordability of land. Because your biggest cost is not necessarily the house, it's the cost of the land ultimately. So coupled to that, one of the requests from this program was to make sure that people obtain tenure. A lot of times people have the land, the houses, but they don't own it. And the aim of the program was to make sure we enable ownership of that. Affordable housing program, as I mentioned, has got the 4 components, which is informal settlement upgrading, council's affordable housing program, the employer-employee housing program, and the rent-to-own and rent housing program, council rental units. Now, just to briefly highlight, the council affordable housing program makes provision in terms of the housing policy that was approved in 2021, makes provision for different income categories of construction and income levels. So we have 3 levels. We have ultra low, which is residents or people earning between 0 to 3,500. So those are the houses that we are busy constructing in informal settlements. So it's houses up to the value of 200,000. Then the council housing program resorts under the program it's got the 2 other levels, which is low, and low is 200 to 400,000. There you should earn an income of 3,500 to 5,000 Namibian dollars to be able to qualify for those houses. And that excludes the land cost. So that's just the house cost. So those are people that can physically be able to go to a bank, obtain a loan from the bank. We would not necessarily, the first category of informal settlements, the council is physically issuing a bond under our housing schemes, and then the person will repay the city for that house, and if the funds go into revolving fund for us to build more houses. The second category of low income are people that get a loan from the bank, you repay the bank, and then obviously we get our money from the bank for the house when it's sold. The last category is low to middle income. That's house value between 400 to 650,000. Those are people earning between 5,000 Namibian dollars and 15,000 Namibian dollars per month. And these are typically also credit-linked houses, and specifically the program that we have recently, the pilot houses that we will build in Khomas will fall under that category for low to middle income. So there is quite a range of houses that will be built throughout Windhoek. So the council housing program is implemented across the city. It's from areas ranging from Koreanga all the way to Simbabasia and Rocky Crest, Khomasdal, Ochimise. These are the houses that will be built. And ultimately it's also to look at areas where we can build different houses for different income categories within the same area as well. In terms of the employer-employee housing program, it's a program that we still want to introduce. It's not been formally the criteria put out, but the idea is to make land available for employer groups with more than 20 employees, where the council will physically be able to build houses for the employer groups, for their employees. We have been approached by big companies already for this initiative. The idea behind why we are saying our own contractors, because we have negotiated rates with our contractors that are much cheaper than the industry rates out there. We have better material price negotiated rates. So that when we give the houses, many employer groups have got housing schemes. Then they'll buy the houses from us, and the employees will pay the houses. It will be deducted from their salary monthly. Similarly, that's for council employees and for other employees as well. And then we want to introduce what we call rent to own and also rental units. The reason for those units are, we have identified that there are people like students, travelers, people that come into Windhoek for a short space of time. They don't want to go stay in a hotel, and that sometimes we find that students, because of affordability, they end up living in informal settlement in shacks because they cannot afford those things. So the idea is to council to build rental units that will be remaining council's property, and then people will be able to rent these units at an affordable price from council. But ultimately the property remains council. If, for instance, also at a later stage a person says, no, but I want to buy the unit, then you enter into a rent-to-own agreement. So physically, maybe for 5 years your income is not, as a student you are studying, after the 5 years you get a job, then you can buy the unit. So but then that monies that you have paid for rental will be set off against the value of the house at that time. So for instance, if the cost of the unit was 200,000, by the time that after 5 years it's 150, then we only charge you the 150 loan and not the 200,000. So that is ultimately all the plans that counts, that the housing policy, the mandate that we have allows for us to introduce within the city. And we have a 5-year plan where all these programs will be introduced over the next 5 years. So there will be houses built for different people in terms of students, graduates, working class people, government workers, in their income profiles. So it's not targeting just the informal settlements, it's targeting the rest of Windhoek, because we have quite a number of people that are renting that want to also have ownership. So that is ultimately the idea why we got into this space as taking on the onset of a developer as well. We'll not be able to do it obviously alone, but we see that the fact that we are owning the land, the fact that we can negotiate better prices puts us in a position to actually build an affordable product for our residents. The specific areas that we rolled out the program in, we started off in Onyika, in Okringava. We have Freedom Land as well. We have areas of Ochimise, and we had areas in Koreangap as well. Now, in order to, the areas that we've identified was areas that have embarked on a planning process, township approval process, and it was also areas where services were fully installed, meaning water, sewer, and electricity. The house that we are constructing is a complete house with water, sewer, and electricity. So you need all the services to be functional. And these areas were the pilot areas. This project also was a pilot project to test how it would work to construct a house in situ, in an informal area where you have informal structures. And the areas that were identified were smaller areas. They were really small in number in terms of inhabitants, not so densified, and it was easy to also start the project on those areas as well. Secondly, the areas of Ochimise and Koreangap are informal pockets with formal areas of people that own the land, but they could not afford to build a house. They could not obtain credit from a bank, which is part of this program, that those that are not able to obtain funding from a bank, that they would be able to form part of this program where the city would then issue a loan, and then they would be repaying that loan to the city as well. So that's the reason why these pilot areas were identified, because they were ready to be initiated. However, there are other areas that as we move along where the services are being installed, and as the areas are released, the planning process has been embarked, we will continue into those areas as well. In order to apply, you need to have either own the erf, having a title deed, as I mentioned earlier, or you have a lease agreement with the City of Windhoek for an erf that is fully serviced, or you have a proof that either even through a certificate of occupation that has been recently issued, that you are settled on that land and that you have the rights to physically purchase that land from the City of Windhoek. Coupled to that, you should be able to provide proof of income. You should, if you are self-employed, you should make a police declaration declaring that you earn an income in excess of 3,000 Namibian dollars to be able to qualify. Reason being is that the installment of the house, we basically work on a third of your income profile. That is what we use as the installment of the house. And if you are married in community of property, we need your ID, your wife's ID, and then also we need your marriage certificate. We also need a water and electricity bill, and then if you are employed and you have a formal income with a payslip, we need bank statements as well. So even for the person that is self-employed, we also want at least the latest bank statement to see that there is some form of income coming into the account. We have 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom houses. Our 1 bedroom house is a 35 square meter house containing 1 bedroom, a open plan kitchen and lounge area, and it contains a full bathroom with a shower, a basin and a toilet pot, and then the bedroom itself. That house itself also has got a solar geyser. It's got fencing as well, and it comes at a cost, excluding the bond and transfer fees, it comes at a cost of 155,000. The 2-bedroom house it's 45 square meters. It consists of 2 full bedrooms. It's got a bathroom as well, full bathroom. It's got also kitchen, open plan lounge area, also solar geyser, also fencing. So these are the 2 house types, and the 2-bedroom comes in at a cost of 220,000. That is the cost of the 2-bedroom house complete. and we have what we refer to also, those are freestanding houses. Then we also have semi-detached houses. Those are houses that are on the boundary for the smaller urban, to make sure that we are able to physically provide the beneficiary with options to extend in future. All the typologies are drawn up with future extensions. So 1 bedroom is drawn up all the way to a 3-bedroom house. 2 bedroom is drawn up also to a 3-bedroom house. So when the house is done and completed and you start repaying, then you can actually do your other bedroom on your own time and own cost, even while you're repaying the loan. Our target was to construct 600 houses. However, due to some challenges that we faced, we could not reach the 600. We, however, managed to construct a total of 346 houses. Now, the success for us in that regard is that it's 346 houses, looking at an average family of 5 people per household. So we have literally provided shelter to over 1,500, almost 2,000 people that never had a house before. And the success story is looking at taking someone from an informal structure where you had no running water, you had no sewage, your electricity was not to the standard where you can actually make food. You had to cook it on fire. Now you can put in a stove, you can actually cook food. You basically have full running services, and this provides a level of dignity to a person. So for me, that is the greatest success story. It's not the number of houses that we built, it's the fact that we provided dignity to our people, where you can physically, when you call home, you call and you say, I'm going to my house to take a shower. We've had people that for 30 years of their lives, they've never had a shower in their life. So for me, that alone is a success on its own. I think the challenges that we've encountered, the environment where we construct houses, because it's an in situ project, you have to come in knowing that the area is dense, because what we do is that in order to make way for the house, we demolish some of the structures and we move them backwards to make space for the house. However, you find some of the areas that are small are so dense, and there are a lot of people staying on the urban. We physically now have to wait until relocation happens, and this causes some delays, because you can't, the house, everything is done, the plan has been approved, but you can't physically execute construction. The owner of the house asks for 3 to 4 months or 5 months, and this really stalled some of our progress. One of the other challenges that we encountered also was the fact that some of the areas delivery was hampered because of the narrow streets, because you have big trucks that need to come in and deliver material. So all of these factors played along. And although knowing some of the challenges and the risks that we had up front, we thought that sometimes you can maybe be at the end of a street and offload the material. But one of the quality measures that we tried to put in place was to make sure that every house, the owner, you physically see your material gets delivered to your house, so that you can see your house come out of the ground and you live that dream together with the person who's constructing your house. So you don't want to have a scenario where the person doesn't know, okay, is this material mine or not? You physically see what you're going to pay for ultimately at the end of the day. One of the other challenges that we faced as well was also the fact that some of the services in the areas, although reflecting that there are services, some of the individual services were not present, which literally showed us that some people were living without water and sewer for some time. So they were either relieving themselves somewhere. And this proved also challenging during the construction phase, because we cannot get takeover from our building control colleagues if those services are not there. We can't get takeover for the house, which means that handover gets delayed. So the person only moves in a month or 2 or 3 months later into the house. Also, some of the contractors that we had initially, although their credentials proved that they were capable to build, they actually cost they built quite, the quality was an issue to the extent that 3 or 4 to 5 houses were broken down and had to be rebuilt. So what we really did now during the new bid process was to make sure we get good quality contractors. Our criteria was very strict because we want to ensure that we give our resident a proper quality house. The new registrations are for, as I said, we have a target of 1,200 houses between ourselves and City of Windhoek and NHE. Each entity must build 600 houses. So the registration process that we've initiated was to invite those people that have not partaken. Some, during COVID, a lot of people, their income levels have dropped. So our targeted beneficiary areas, really the numbers dropped of people that physically registered. Based on what has transpired lately, we said let's go out and go find more people that want to partake, seeing the success stories of houses that were built, and also to look at other people that might not have known about the project, that have now heard about it, that wants to partake, seeing their neighbors that are there. Also areas, we've also identified 1 or 2 new areas where groups are based. We're trying to target areas where groups have bought land that are fully serviced, so that that group can come and register combined. So ultimately it's to make sure we have sufficient beneficiaries, because we have the contractors, we have the funding, so all we need is people, that beneficiaries that we can construct for. I just want to really encourage our beneficiaries that are staying in areas that are fully serviced, to really, in informal areas, to really come forward, to come register. The colleagues, that there are 2 registration points, Katutura Customer Care Center. You can register. It's running from the 15th until the 26th of August, but it will still continue. But that is the period it will be physically running there. Once that office is closed, you can register at Townhouse here in town on the 5th floor as well, and then at NHE's offices in Katutura as well, because they also have their beneficiaries that they want to build for. So both entities are ready to construct houses, and also really to say to the public in the informal settlements, the residents, the city is really moving to the extent where we want to build decent, affordable housing for our people. That is the ultimate aim. The Ministry of Urban and Rural Development, our line ministry, and the Khomas Regional Council, they are really supportive, they are really behind us. So we will ensure that you get a good quality house at an affordable